Beloved chosen one, stop everything, listen closely. The silence of heaven has broken, and what was once hidden is now being revealed. Two angels stood in solemn silence, watching, guarding, waiting for the appointed time. That time is now. They were not silent because they had nothing to say, but because you were not yet ready to carry the weight of what must now be spoken. You are not scrolling by chance. This is divine interruption. The room you sit in, the atmosphere around you, even the stillness of your breath, heaven has paused it all, just for this moment. Why? Because you have reached the turning point, the place between before and after. The veil is being pulled back. The unseen realm is opening, and the messengers who were once silent now speak. They speak for one reason. You are ready. You, chosen one, were never ordinary. Your life has never been normal. The evidence has been all around you: loneliness that defied explanation, warfare that came out of nowhere, and an ache inside you that no worldly success could cure. You have felt it, a divine weight, a pull, a pressure, like you were born for something too big to name. This message is not for the masses. It is not for the comfortable. It is not for those who blend in and live quiet lives. No, this is for the misfits, the misunderstood, the warriors with trembling hands and tear-stained faces, the ones who keep getting up no matter how many times they are pushed down. This is for you. Two angels stood in silence as your life unfolded, watching your battles, recording your tears, shielding you from deaths you didn't even know you escaped. They stood in silence because the command from the throne had not yet come. But tonight, the command has gone out, and their silence ends. They now speak not in thunder or lightning, but through the quiet stirring in your soul. That stirring you feel right now, that's not emotion. That is divine recognition. You've always known something was different about you. Even as a child, you saw what others missed. You felt pain deeper, dreamed wider, and questioned things most never dared to ask. Others called it sensitivity, weakness, or rebellion. But God called it preparation. You were never being punished, you were being positioned. Every season of delay was a divine setup. Every closed door, protection. Every betrayal, a redirection. While you cried for answers, heaven was writing instructions. And now finally God speaks. And he speaks to you because something in your spirit has awakened. The heavens have waited long enough. It is time for you to rise. Hell knows who you are. That's why the warfare has been so intense. That's why relationships failed without cause. That's why opportunities slipped from your hands. You weren't cursed. You were covered. Covered until the fullness of time arrived. And now, that time has come. You're not watching this by mistake. You didn't just stumble upon a message. You are being summoned. This is not a call for curiosity. It's a call to destiny. You're being called out of hiding, out of fear, out of delay, because something bigger than you needs your voice, needs your obedience, needs your yes. You may have doubted yourself, but heaven never did. You may have walked away, but heaven never stopped watching. Even now, the angels who stood in silence are leaning in. They are bearing witness as this moment is sealed. As your destiny takes shape in the unseen realm, they do not speak often, but when they do it, means something eternal is being set in motion. So hear it clearly. You are chosen. Not just loved, not just blessed, chosen. There's a difference. You carry weight in the spirit that others can't see. You provoke warfare because of what's inside you. And that's why the angels speak now to remind you that your life is not random. It's prophetic. As we read in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 2 says, "When you walk through fire, you will not be burned. You've walked through flames that should have consumed you. You've walked through grief that should have ended you, but you are still here, and not just barely no. You are standing, because grace upheld you. Mercy stood between you and madness. And now, heaven reveals what hell has tried to hide. You are chosen for such a time as this. So, if your spirit bears witness, comment below. 777, the number of divine completion. Let it be your prophetic act of agreement. Say it loud with your fingers, because tonight, the silence is broken, and your story shifts. You have often wondered why your life has felt so unlike the lives of those around you, why your path has twisted in ways that didn't make sense, why you felt like you were always arriving late to what others seemed to walk into so easily. But here is what has been hidden in plain sight. Your life was never designed to be ordinary from the very beginning. You were marked, not with ink, but with divine fire, a seal placed upon your spirit long before your body drew its first breath. You felt it your whole life, haven't you? That quiet sense that you were different, not better, just set apart. A silent knowing, a persistent ache, a restlessness that no relationship, no career, no amount of success could fully satisfy. That was heaven whispering. Even when earth tried to drown it out, every strange encounter, every loss, every delayed promise, every closed door, none of it was random. You were being shaped. The shaping hurt. The weight felt unjust. But every moment was intentional. You were being built for something that others couldn't handle. That's why their paths seemed smoother. You weren't created to blend in. You were crafted to break through. You've always carried what others didn't see. While others chased applause, you felt the pull of something weightier. While they sought platforms, your heart longed for presence. While they built brands, you found yourself torn open by burdens you couldn't name. And when you tried to explain what you carried, words failed you, because spiritual weight cannot be explained. It must be discerned. You weren't born to live an explainable life. That's why so much of your pain has gone unnoticed. People saw your face but didn't recognize your fight. They heard your voice but missed the echo of battles you never chose. They saw strength but not the scars beneath it. And yet, through all of it, heaven kept record. Every tear, every scream into a pillow, every silent night where you asked God, "Why me?" And still, you got up. Still, you kept moving. Still, you didn't curse the calling, even when it crushed you. That's what makes you chosen. Chosen ones don't get the easy path. They get the path that prepares them. The path with detours that seem like failure, but are actually divine rerouting. The path where comfort is stripped so conviction can rise. The path where distractions fall away and identity is forged in fire. You've wondered if you missed it, if maybe you failed your assignment, but you didn't miss it. You were being measured. Measured for endurance. Measured for loyalty. Measured for obedience even when answers were nowhere in sight. You kept standing. You kept believing. And that's what set you apart. Because being chosen isn't about popularity. It's about posture. Heaven chooses those who bow low, even when they want to run. Heaven chooses those who say yes, even when they don't understand. Heaven chooses the ones who would rather be hidden in God than visible without Him. And that, chosen one, is why your life has been marked by mystery, because you were being preserved in obscurity until the appointed time. There's a reason your name never came up in rooms you prayed for, a reason you weren't invited, selected, or celebrated. It's not because you weren't good enough. It's because heaven was keeping you untainted, your oil too rare, your spirit too sensitive, your calling too fierce to be contaminated by counterfeit connections. What others called rejection was actually redirection. You didn't miss the moment. You are the moment. You didn't miss the blessing. You are the blessing. And the people who walked away from you, they weren't assigned to the fullness of your story. God removed them so your heart wouldn't be entangled when the trumpet of destiny finally sounded. And here you are now, not where you imagined you'd be, but more grounded than you've ever been, because you know what pain taught you. You know what isolation whispered. You know what warfare unlocked in you. And even when you didn't know how to pray, your tears prayed for you. Paul reminds us in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 6 says, God raised us up with Christ and seated us with Him in the heavenly realms. That's your reality even when earth says otherwise. You are already seated higher than your situation. You are already established in places your feet haven't yet touched. That's why the enemy tried to crush you with confusion. Because if you ever discovered where you really sit, nothing could shake you again. So sit tall in that truth. Your life is prophetic. It may not be loud, but it carries weight. It may not make sense to others, but it's being orchestrated by the master composer. You are not random. You are not forgotten. You are not average. You are chosen, and you always were. You, chosen one, have been walking with a burden others can't see and carrying a blueprint even you didn't fully understand. That's why your life has felt like contradiction. Called but crushed. Gifted but hidden. Needed but ignored. You've lived between the realm of promise and the weight of preparation, never quite fitting in either space. But that is the mark of one entrusted with a secret assignment. You don't walk like others because you weren't born to. You don't think like them, dream like them, ache like them. There's a frequency in your soul that doesn't align with the noise of the world. It's tuned to the voice of the throne. That's why silence often surrounds you. Not punishment, not absence. Just a stillness that preserves the instructions heaven has written inside your spirit. The mission you carry is not visible to the naked eye. It won't be affirmed by titles or recognized by shallow minds. Because this calling, it's heavy, it's holy, and it was handcrafted for you alone. You've been sent into relationships, workplaces, even entire cities, not just to be present, but to disrupt the atmosphere. You carry a vibration that heaven trusts to break chains. Even in rooms where you say nothing, you've felt misunderstood your whole life. Haven't you? People can't figure you out. Some admire you from afar. Others keep their distance without knowing why. It's not your personality, it's your presence. You carry something sacred, and even those who don't believe can sense it. Light doesn't need permission to expose darkness. It just enters and shifts everything. You were sent to shift, But with that kind of assignment comes spiritual tension. You've had to suffer in silence because explaining your pain would only invite mockery. You've had to lead while bleeding, intercede while feeling empty, pour out even when no one poured back into you. And still, you never let go of the call. That's not weakness. That's warrior discipline. That's what makes you different. Your prayers have built things you'll never get credit for. Your obedience has saved people who'll never know your name. Your pain has protected others from paths they would have perished on. That's the cost of carrying an unseen calling. It's not glamorous. It's not Instagram-worthy. But it's eternal. When you step into a room, things shift. You feel burdens that aren't yours. Hear words that were never spoken aloud. Sometimes you cry without knowing why. War in the spirit without seeing the full picture. That's because your spirit is wired to sense what's out of alignment. You're not crazy. You're not unstable. You're awakened. Chosen ones feel before others know. That's why you can't settle into surface-level living. Shallow conversations drain you. Environments lacking God's presence suffocate you, because your inner world is deep, tuned to glory, and constantly reaching for the weight of what's real. You were made to function in depth, and anything less leaves you restless. This is why your warfare is so personal. The enemy isn't just trying to steal your joy, he's after your voice. He's after your surrender. Because if you ever truly say yes to the fullness of what's inside you, systems will crumble, chains will snap, entire bloodlines will shift. You don't just carry purpose, you carry spiritual architecture. And now it's time to acknowledge it. Comment, I accept it. Write it not because you have every detail figured out, but because your spirit knows this moment is a holy one. Accepting it doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you trust the one who called you. It means you're tired of pretending you're ordinary. It means you're done running from what you've always known deep down. You were sent for something greater. That simple declaration breaks chains. It breaks the power of hesitation, the lies of unworthiness, the trauma of rejection. I accept it means you agree with God over your life, even if people don't. It means you surrender to the mission, even if it costs you comfort. Chosen one, your life is not random, it is revelatory. Every encounter has been calculated, every wound purposeful, every delay strategic. You are not just living, you are fulfilling something that was seen before time began. And no devil in hell can abort what heaven has appointed. As Paul writes in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 10 says, we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. There it is. The assignment was prepared before you breathed. The warfare didn't create your calling, it revealed it. You're not too late. You haven't missed your moment. You're not too broken. In fact, your breaking was the very path to your building. So don't wait to be validated. Don't wait to be ready. Heaven isn't looking for perfect vessels, just surrendered ones. You've already been chosen. Now, you must accept it. Everything around you slowed down for a reason, and it wasn't coincidence. Heaven pressed pause not because you were forgotten, but because you were being summoned into clarity. When the noise stopped, when the distractions fell silent, something deeper began to stir inside you. That unsettling stillness. It was not emptiness. It was God clearing the air, so you could finally hear what had always been spoken over your life. You've been looking for signs, asking for confirmations, trying to make sense of the tension that surrounded your spirit. But here's the truth. The reason nothing around you could satisfy you is because God Himself has been calling your name in the Spirit. And when God calls you, everything else must fall quiet. Heaven's pause was not a delay, it was a declaration. It was a sacred space carved out of time so that nothing would interfere with the next revelation. You weren't placed on hold. You were placed in holding, protected, sheltered, hidden, not to punish you, but to prepare you for what's coming next. You've been walking through a season where your prayers felt like they echoed back in silence, not because God was absent, but because He was drawing you deeper. Sometimes God withdraws the familiar to awaken the eternal. When His voice seems faint, it's not to distance Himself, it's to train your spirit to lean in, to hunger, to pursue. Chosen one, do not misinterpret the silence of God as the absence of God. His silence is sacred, and when heaven pauses, it's because something is being positioned in the unseen realm. What felt like inactivity was actually divine orchestration. Angels were moving, swords were clashing, assignments were being shifted. You were being rerouted not according to your preference, but according to your purpose. There are things inside you that could not emerge in the rush of life. There are parts of your identity that only grow in stillness. That's why relationships faded, opportunities dried up. That's why you've had to sit with yourself, stripped of distractions, face to face with the question, who am I really? And why am I still here? You were not being ignored, you were being called inward. God has been drawing you into the depths, not the shallow waters of performance or routine faith, but the depths where real transformation lives, where you don't just know about Him, you know Him, where your gifts don't just entertain, they heal, where your words don't just impress, they set captives free. The pause wasn't just about slowing you down, it was about realigning your spirit, pulling you out of cycles you didn't even know you were in, breaking patterns of people-pleasing, self-doubt, and quiet rebellion. And you felt it, the divine disruption, the holy discomfort, the strange ache of knowing there had to be more and that the more was already inside you. Heaven's pause often looks like personal crisis, closed doors, lost friendships, unanswered prayers. But when you look again, you'll see that God was doing something deeper, uncaging your spirit, reclaiming your attention, clearing out anything that couldn't walk with you into what's next. There are seasons where God stops speaking about your comfort and starts speaking to your calling. That's what this is. He's no longer asking you to be okay. He's asking you to become, to rise, to recognize the assignment not as a burden, but as an honor. You weren't called just to endure, you were called to execute. And this pause was God's way of sharpening the sword in your mouth. In the stillness, you've begun to hear things differently. Scriptures have struck you with fresh power. Dreams have carried weight you can't shake. Random encounters have felt like divine setups. That's not imagination. That's spiritual alignment. You're coming into agreement with heaven, and when that happens, everything changes. As we read in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it linger. Wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." End of tribe. God didn't forget the vision. He didn't revoke the promise. He simply paused everything around you so that what he planted in you could rise. And now it's rising. Slowly. Maybe. Quietly. Yes. But undeniably, something in your spirit is shifting, strengthening. And it's not because you finally got what you wanted, it's because heaven finally got your full attention. You've come too far to go back. The veil has been lifted. The silence has spoken. You know now deep in your bones that this moment is not about survival. It's about obedience. It's about revelation. It's about stepping into what you were born for with clean hands and clear vision. The pause has served its purpose. The wait has prepared you, and what's ahead demands everything heaven deposited in you. You've been fighting battles no one saw, haven't you? Long nights, silent tears, invisible wars, and yet, somehow, you kept going. You kept rising. You kept believing, even when your heart was bleeding. That's not weakness. That's evidence of the anointing on your life. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being hunted because you are holy. Hell doesn't waste energy on people with no purpose. Demons don't stalk those with no spiritual authority. You've been opposed so fiercely because your very existence threatens systems of darkness. You are a walking disruption to hell's agenda. You are dangerous, and hell knows it. But here's what they didn't expect, that after everything, you'd still be standing, still praying, still reaching for God. That after all the betrayal, you would still have a heart that says, Lord, I'm yours. That after every setback, you would still dare to believe there is more. That kind of faith terrifies the enemy. That kind of endurance cannot be faked. It is a mark, it is the signature of the chosen. Listen to me. You're not crazy. You're not cursed. You're not broken beyond repair. You are marked. You are chosen. You are feared in hell and favored in heaven. The pain wasn't proof of rejection, it was proof of recognition. Hell recognized you before you even did. And that's why the attacks were so strategic. They were designed to confuse your identity. But heaven is speaking louder now. This is your wake-up call. Every toxic relationship that tried to bind you, sent to distract you from destiny. Every storm that came out of nowhere, an attempt to break your focus. Every delay and detour, meant to discourage you into quitting. But you didn't quit. And because of that, heaven is about to vindicate every silent season you endured. But let's be clear, this isn't just about you. You are part of something greater. A generation is watching. Chains are breaking around you, even now. Because your obedience is louder than your opposition. You are not just surviving. You are shifting things in the unseen realm. Your worship is shaking foundations. Your tears are sowing deliverance. Your presence alone unsettles what is unclean. This is why the warfare has intensified. Because breakthrough is near. You are closer than you realize. And the enemy can feel it. That's why old battles are resurfacing. That's why old temptations are knocking. That's why you've felt a strange pressure like something is watching. It is, but so is heaven. And you are not outnumbered. Elisha once said in the second book of Kings, chapter 6, verse 16 says, "Do not be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And, yes, chosen one. There are more for you than against you. And this time, you're not fighting alone. You never were. The angels that once stood in silence have been activated. They are moving, warring, surrounding you with divine instruction and protection. What was once delayed is being released. What was once hidden is being revealed. But here's the charge. Stay alert. Don't go back. Don't apologize for the light you carry. Don't dim it for people who've grown comfortable in the dark. There is a crown on your name, and every step you take in obedience brings you closer to it. The fight was never just about your peace, it was about your position. The enemy wanted to keep you beneath your inheritance, but heaven is calling you up. You are called to disrupt, to rebuild, to heal, to speak. You are called to walk in places where others fell, to carry fire where others compromised. You are not too young, too old, too broken, too late. You are right on time. So let your spirit rise. Let the anointing burn. Let the fire of God fall on you afresh. The old season is over. The chains are falling. The silence has broken. And you, chosen one, were born for this moment. If this word is confirming what your spirit already knows, like this video. Share it with someone who's still fighting their way through. And hit subscribe to stay connected to this flow of anointing. Every time you share this, you help another warrior remember who they are. Every time you subscribe, you stay aligned with messages. Heaven is pouring out for the remnant. Don't scroll past this. Respond, because your obedience could be the answer to someone else's prayer. You carry a light that terrifies darkness, and that's why you've been hunted. But take heart, what hunted you will now have to watch you rise. You weren't supposed to make it. The storm was designed to take you out. The lies, the loss, the betrayal, it was all set in motion to crush your spirit before you realized what you truly carried. But here you are, still breathing, still standing, still chosen. And now, something has shifted. You may not feel it yet in your body, but your spirit knows. You've crossed a threshold. What was meant to destroy you only deepened your roots. What came to bury you watered the seed, and what tried to silence you only made heaven speak louder over your name. Chosen one, let this sink in. You survived what should have killed you. You survived the silence, the abandonment, the mental warfare, the self-hatred. You survived the kind of darkness that no one else saw. While people complimented your strength, they never knew you were barely holding on. They never saw the nights you cried alone, the mornings you didn't want to get up. But God saw. The angels recorded. Heaven never looked away. Every attack on your life was a clue to your calling. You weren't targeted because you were weak. You were targeted because you carry impact. The enemy doesn't fight the distracted. He fights the dangerous. And you, chosen one, are spiritually dangerous. Your existence is an interruption to demonic systems. Your anointing is a threat. Your breath alone breaks patterns. It was never just about you making it through. It was about what would be birthed from your breakthrough. You have authority you didn't even know you were gaining. You've picked it up in the fire. You've collected it in the wilderness. You've earned it in every silent obedience. Every time you kept walking when you wanted to give up. Now, you carry weight in the spirit realm. You are not the same. And that's why the opposition came like a flood. Because darkness feared what you didn't even know was growing inside you. You didn't look like a threat, but you carried the blueprint for deliverance. You didn't sound like a warrior, but your prayers shook strongholds. You didn't feel holy, but your life provoked holiness in others. Every lie the enemy told you was projection. He was hoping you'd believe it before you realized who you really were. But now you know that what didn't kill you gave you eyes to see. You know that the heartbreak trained your discernment. You know that the silence shaped your surrender. You know that the fire purified your motives. Everything you thought was punishment was actually promotion in disguise. Every breakdown was an altar. Every loss was a pruning. You've come through too much to go back to small thinking. You've cried too many tears to water anyone else's insecurity. You've lost too much to settle now. This next season is not about survival, it's about recovery and reign. You're not crawling in, you're marching in, clothed in glory. And it's not just your recovery, it's recovery for every soul tied to your yes. Because when you rise, so do they. When you obey, others are freed. When you walk in light, you ignite others who've been living in shadow. Your survival wasn't for applause, it was for assignment. Let the enemy tremble. Let hell regret ever touching you. Because now, you're awake. Now, your fire is real. Now, your eyes are clear. And now, you have stepped into the realm of the unshakable. You don't just believe you know. You don't just hope you carry. You don't just pray, you shift atmospheres. So this moment must be marked, not with a feeling, not with a thought, but with a declaration in the comments below. Comment 777. This is not a gimmick, it's a prophetic act. The number 7 is the number of divine completion. And you've reached the end of what tried to break you. This is your line in the sand, the place where old battles end and new glory begins. Comment 777 as a sign that what began in pain will end in power. Because you are not just surviving, you are ascending. You are not just coming back, you're coming back, crowned. As we read in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3 says, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning. This is the exchange. The ashes of what you lost are being traded for something glorious. The mourning you carried is turning into oil that will drip on others. The fire you walked through didn't burn you, it branded you. You are marked now, not by pain, but by power. So don't diminish what you carry. Don't apologize for surviving. Don't shrink to make others feel comfortable. You are chosen. You are called. You are rising. And no weapon, no whisper, no wound can stop what heaven has written. This moment is your proof. What tried to kill you made you more dangerous than ever before. There is a reason people never fully understood you. It wasn't because you were confusing. It wasn't because you were too much. It was because you were chosen for a realm most people cannot perceive. And when you're chosen, misunderstanding becomes a kind of armor keeping you hidden, keeping you pure, keeping you aligned. You've asked before, why did they turn on me? Why did they leave when I needed them the most? Why couldn't they see my heart? And the answer has been echoing through your life since the beginning. You were chosen to be misunderstood because what God has placed inside you is too sacred to be exposed to every eye. Not everyone has the spiritual sight to recognize the oil you carry. Not everyone has the maturity to walk with someone anointed before their manifestation. Joseph was misunderstood. David was overlooked. Jesus was rejected in his own hometown. So why do you think you'd be treated differently? The isolation wasn't rejection, it was protection. God removed you from rooms where your spirit wasn't safe. He disconnected you from people who couldn't handle your future. He shielded your identity from being distorted by those who only saw your weakness and never your wonder. You weren't being punished. You were being preserved. There were seasons when you questioned your own worth because of how people treated you. But those people couldn't see what heaven saw. They weren't assigned to the depths of your calling. They were only ever meant to be part of the preparation. And when their time was up, they left not because you lacked value, but because your spirit outgrew their space. Chosen ones always outgrow shallow waters. That ache you carry, that sense of always being too different, even in spaces that should feel like home, it's because your spirit was designed to dwell in higher places. You weren't meant to stay small. That's why small thinking wounds you. That's why gossip grates your ears. That's why fake conversations leave you exhausted. You were not made for surface. And so, God separated you. He silenced your circle so you would lean in to His voice. He closed certain doors so you would find your identity in Him, not in the approval of people. Every time you cried out for companionship and heard nothing in return, it wasn't abandonment. It was heaven answering you in silence. Because if you had been embraced too soon, you would have given your treasure to those who couldn't carry it. There's a loneliness that only the chosen understand. It's not just the absence of people, it's the weight of what you carry. You feel more, see more, discern more. And while others enjoy the moment, you're burdened with eternity. That's not sadness. That's responsibility. That's why your conversations feel heavier. Your thoughts go deeper. Your spirit stretches further. But here's what you must know now. The season of misunderstanding was part of your making. You were being built in the background, formed in the shadows, hidden in plain sight. Because what God is birthing through, you need space to mature before the public sees it. And when the time is right, those who misunderstood you will witness your revealing, not for revenge, but for revelation. They'll see what they never saw. They'll hear what they once mocked. They'll recognize what they tried to redefine. Not because you fought for it, but because you endured in silence. As it is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 118, verse 22 says, "The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone." Yes, you, the one who was overlooked, the one who was doubted, the one they didn't expect to rise. You are becoming the cornerstone in places where your name was once forgotten. Your voice will echo in rooms where you were once silenced. Your presence will shake environments that once refused to welcome you. And yet, your heart will remain clean. Because misunderstanding didn't poison you, it purified you. It taught you to love without applause, to serve without entitlement, to walk quietly with God when no one else walked with you. That is why you are ready now. Not just ready to be seen, but ready to stay holy when the spotlight comes. So don't be bitter. Be grateful. What felt like rejection was actually graduation. What looked like delay was divine timing. What felt like heartbreak was heaven's redirection. You were never forgotten. You were always being prepared. There is a shift happening. And though it's not loud, it is undeniable. Something is lifting. Something is opening. And what was once hidden is about to be revealed. You felt it in subtle ways, your discernment sharpening, your dreams intensifying, your spirit becoming more sensitive to what others ignore. These are not coincidences. These are signs. The covering over your life is lifting. You were never meant to stay hidden forever. God kept you wrapped in obscurity, not because you were forgotten, but because exposure before maturity is a danger. not a blessing. He hid you until your foundation could bear the weight of visibility, until your heart could remain steady under pressure, until your spirit could discern between platform and presence. And now, your hidden season is ending. It doesn't mean everything will happen at once. No. Divine timing doesn't operate like a spotlight, it functions more like a sunrise. Quiet, gradual, but unstoppable. The light begins to rise before anyone sees it. The shift happens in your spirit before it manifests in the physical. But once it begins, it cannot be reversed. You've spent so long feeling buried. But God was planting you. What felt like isolation was incubation. What felt like delay was development. And now, like a seed pushing through the soil, you are breaking the surface, not in your own strength, but in the authority of heaven. Your roots have gone deep. Your time in the dark has produced strength others won't understand. And it's that hidden strength that qualifies you for what's next. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. Prepared to walk with grace when others boast. Prepared to love when others hate. Prepared to carry influence without losing integrity. Many want the light, but few want the crushing that makes the oil flow. But you endured it. You didn't abandon the process. And because of that, what God is about to reveal through you will carry weight, eternal weight. There will be those who try to act surprised, who say they never saw this coming. But heaven did. Heaven saw you when no one else did. Heaven watched your silent obedience, your quiet prayers, your unseen sacrifices. While others were performing, you were being processed. And now, what was hidden is about to speak. Your voice will carry a sound that only comes from the secret place. Your words will carry authority, not because of eloquence, but because they've been birthed in brokenness. You will not speak to entertain, you will speak to deliver. And the ones who once doubted you will find themselves transformed by the very presence they once overlooked. This next season requires no announcement, no performance, just obedience. You don't need to promote yourself. You don't need to push open doors. When God says it's time, the doors will open of their own accord, not because of who you know, but because of what you carry. Favor is not something you chase, it's something that finds you when your heart is aligned. There are people right now who are looking for exactly what's inside you. They're not looking for perfection, they're looking for authenticity. They're desperate for someone who has walked through fire and still carries water. And that's you. You are not just anointed, you are seasoned. You've been through enough to know what's real and what's not. You don't carry hype. You carry healing. As it is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14 says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." You were never meant to stay buried. You were always meant to rise, not in arrogance, but in assignment. Not to be admired, but to ignite others. Your visibility is not for vanity, it's for victory. Victory over fear, over silence, over shame. Victory for the ones watching you, waiting for permission to rise themselves. And yes, they will come. The ones who doubted, the ones who dismissed, the ones who tried to contain you. But this time, you won't be moved by their reaction, because your confidence no longer comes from recognition, it comes from revelation. You know who you are now. You know why you were hidden, and you know why you're being revealed. So walk carefully, walk humbly, But don't walk small. Don't minimize your anointing to make others comfortable. Don't shrink to fit back into spaces God pulled you out of. You didn't come this far to go silent. You didn't endure the crushing to blend in. Your hidden season is ending, and heaven is watching how you carry the light. They didn't see it, did they? They thought you were just quiet, just sensitive, just trying to survive. But heaven knew. Heaven always knew. And while others dismissed you, while people walked away, God was training your hands for war and your mouth for authority. You weren't being ignored. You were being activated. While you sat in silence, something deep was forming in you. Not performance, but presence. Not popularity, but power. Not public applause, but private authority. God was raising you up in places no one could trace, stretching your spirit, sharpening your discernment, drilling endurance into your bones. Every silent moment was sacred training. And now, your spirit is dangerous. You don't fight the way you used to. You don't panic like you used to. You don't plead for validation anymore. Why? Because something inside you has shifted. You've been in the fire too long to come out weak. You've been in prayer too long to come out powerless. You've learned how to war without words, to command without chaos, to move without being moved. Chosen one. Listen closely. You were trained in silence to be launched in fire. There's a reason you couldn't explain your pain. A reason you felt weight in rooms others found easy. A reason you lost your taste for shallow things. You were never being dramatic, you were being refined. What others called overthinking was divine sensitivity. What others mocked as too deep was the whisper of the Holy Spirit, tuning your spirit to hear the frequency of heaven. And now the volume is rising. You're not just hearing, you're responding. You're not just observing, you're engaging. You are no longer a witness in the battle, you are a weapon, and the enemy knows it. This is why the pressure intensified recently. It was a last-ditch effort to make you doubt the power that was being forged in your silence. The warfare wasn't because of failure, it was confirmation of activation. The pressure was your final push. The enemy doesn't attack what doesn't threaten his ground. He came for you because something in you just woke up. And now you walk different. You walk with clarity. You walk with command. You walk with the understanding that silence was never your weakness. It was your womb. You were not hiding. You were developing. And now, the fruit of that hidden season is undeniable. You walk into rooms and atmospheres shift, not because you say much, but because what you carry says everything. Demons scatter before you even open your mouth. Why? Because they recognize the oil. They recognize the crushing. They recognize the fire. You're no longer someone discovering their purpose. You're someone walking in it. And yet, you didn't arrive by ambition. You arrived by obedience. You gave God your yes in the dark. You surrendered when no one was watching. You trusted when nothing made sense. And now heaven has decided it's time. The silence has ended. The seal is broken. Your voice has been authorized. There is no going back to powerlessness now. You've crossed over. And this side demands a new language, a new posture, a new level of intentionality. You can no longer pretend to be small to comfort people who never saw your calling. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your shift. This is not pride. It's prophecy in motion. The training season is over. The activation is complete. Comment, I am activated. Write it. Declare it. Not because you feel ready, but because your spirit knows it's already begun. This is not hype. It's alignment. When you type those words, you're not just posting, you're prophesying. You're telling heaven, I'm done hiding. You're telling hell, I'm not afraid. You're telling your own soul, it is time. Because activation doesn't wait for your comfort. It responds to your covenant. You made one in silence. You whispered promises in your private pain. And God heard everyone. Now He's answering. Through divine opportunities. Through unusual boldness. Through doors that shouldn't open. And most of all, through the authority you now carry when you speak. As it is written in the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 10 says, let the weak say, I am strong. It's me. Yes, that's you. Strong not because you never broke, but because you didn't stay broken. Strong not because you knew the way, but because you refused to stop walking. Strong not because the journey was painless, but because you let the pain make you pure. You are not who you were. You've been refined, purified, prepared, and now you are activated. This world doesn't know how to handle what you carry, and truthfully, it never will, because what lives inside you wasn't shaped by culture, trained by man, or built on trends. It was forged in the silence, formed in fire, birthed in obedience. You, chosen one, are not ordinary. You are a disruptor sent to overturn what hell has claimed for too long. You were never meant to be quiet in the face of corruption. You were never meant to sit still while darkness ruled unchallenged. That deep unrest you've been feeling, that holy discomfort in places where others feel at home, that's the sound of your spirit refusing to conform. That's the sound of heaven waking up the warrior in you. You were never made to blend in. That's why certain rooms couldn't hold you. That's why compromise started to sicken you. That's why your spirit outgrew people, systems, even whole environments. It wasn't pride. It wasn't rebellion. It was your mantle shifting. It was your soul rising to meet your true rank in the spirit realm. Your presence alone disrupts the plans of darkness. You don't even need a microphone. Just your footsteps are prophetic. Just your yes makes demons scatter. Just your presence exposes things that have been hiding in plain sight for years. Because you are not just someone with faith. You are someone sent with fire. And now that fire is spreading, God didn't just anoint you to survive battles, He anointed you to end them. You carry the kind of glory that makes demons remember the throne they fell from. You carry words that realign hearts and dismantle deception. You carry the kind of authority that cannot be taught, it must be forged. And you've been forged. The years of confusion, forging. The seasons of silence, forging. The betrayals and breakdowns and quiet obedience, all of it forging. You don't disrupt atmospheres because of hype. You disrupt them because of history. History with God. History in the trenches. History in the prayer room. Your authority didn't come from a platform. It came from the place where you said, God, if you never promote me, He'll still serve you. That kind of surrender cannot be faked, and it cannot be stopped. So understand this. You don't just have a voice, you are a voice. You don't just have a calling, you are a movement. You don't just carry influence, you carry a sound that shakes dry bones back to life. And yes, there will be opposition, but what opposes you cannot overcome you. because it didn't anoint you. The enemy may come in like a flood, but the standard has already been raised. And that standard is you. You are the standard bearer for a generation that's lost its voice. You are the one hell hoped would quit. But instead of quitting, you got quiet. Instead of reacting, you listened. Instead of giving up, you grew deeper. And now, the roots you formed in secret are producing fruit for the world to see. This is not your moment to retreat. This is your moment to roar. Roar with your testimony. Roar with your truth. Roar with your obedience. Because when you move in alignment, everything that once resisted, you will have no choice but to bow to what sent you. You are not moving in emotion, you are moving in assignment. And every step you take forward is reclaiming stolen territory, as it is declared in the book of Micah, chapter 2. Verse 13 says, "The one who breaks open the way will go up before them. Their king will pass through before them, the Lord at their head." No, you were never meant to follow the crowd. You were meant to break through ahead of it. You were meant to carve paths where there were only walls. You are the breaker, the disruptor, the one sent to ignite what others tried to bury. If this word pierced your spirit, mash the like button. Share this with one other, chosen one, who needs to remember who they are. And subscribe to stay aligned with this prophetic flow. You're not just receiving a word, you're stepping into a realm. Every act of obedience echoes into eternity. Every share is a seed. Every like is a light in the darkness. Every subscription is a declaration. I'm staying connected to the voice of the throne. Chosen one. You don't need permission to walk in power. You already have the oil. You already carry the name. And when you move forward from this moment, don't move like a question, move like a response. Because heaven has spoken, and you are the answer. They saw your tears, but they didn't see your warfare. They saw the outer cost, but they never grasped the inner weight. While you were walking through storms no one else could feel, heaven was watching. Angels were keeping record. Every tear, every whispered prayer, every act of obedience that cost you more than words can explain none of it went unnoticed. Not one moment was wasted. You thought you were forgotten. You thought maybe your prayers had bounced back from the ceiling, but in the realm of the Spirit, your life has been under divine surveillance. The angels that stood silently at the edge of your story weren't absent, they were assigned. They recorded your breaking so they could testify to your rising. They watched you sow in pain so they could witness your reaping in power. There's a system in heaven more accurate than anything on earth. A divine accounting, every sacrifice, every surrender, every decision to stay when walking away would have been easier. It's all been documented, not just for judgment, but for reward. You serve a king who remembers, a father who tracks the unseen, a judge who weighs the motives, not just the outcomes. So even when people didn't clap for your growth, even when they didn't notice how far you've come, even when they misread your silence and mocked your progress, heaven kept score. God saw when you prayed and no one responded. He saw when you chose forgiveness instead of revenge. He saw when you turned down opportunities that could have elevated you because your spirit didn't have peace. He saw the nights you held your tongue, the days you stayed faithful, the hours you gave away to minister to others while you were secretly starving for encouragement yourself. Every moment of obedience is recorded in heaven's scroll. The angels who were assigned to you didn't leave when you stumbled. They didn't walk away when you doubted. They didn't withdraw when you wept from exhaustion. No, they stood their ground. Because your calling never changed. Your covenant didn't break. Your future remained written. They stood watch as your name was slandered. They stood watch when your heart was broken. They stood watch when you stood alone in faith. And now they are watching as your name begins to rise, not by self-promotion, but by divine remembrance. Because this is a season of remembrance. When others forgot you, God remembered you. When others minimized your oil, heaven multiplied it. The scroll of your life is being opened, and every unseen act of obedience is crying out louder than words ever could. You are not just being lifted, you are being vindicated, and not for pride, but for purpose. Because God is not just rewarding you for what you endured, He's using your testimony as a weapon for others to break free. You see, your life is not just a journey, it's a witness. A message written in scars and silence. You didn't survive for yourself. You survived for the generation watching you. For the ones who wonder if God still sees. For the ones who ask if it's worth it to live holy. To stay loyal. To obey. When obedience hurts, your life is the answer to their doubt. And every battle you endured in private is now becoming public fruit. The favor that's beginning to follow you isn't random. It's not accidental. It's justice. The courtroom of heaven has ruled in your favor, not because you demanded it, but because you remained when quitting was justified. And now, your story is shifting from survival to stewardship. You will steward what others mishandled. You will carry what others dropped. You will plant what others burned. Because you didn't just make it through, you kept your heart clean. You let God process you. You let Him refine you. And that kind of submission releases a kind of authority that can't be explained, only demonstrated. As it is written in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 16 says, "Then those who feared the Lord spoke with one another, and the Lord paid attention and heard them. And a book of remembrance was written before Him." There it is, a book of remembrance, and your name is in it. Not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful, because you kept showing up, because you didn't let your wounds harden your worship. You are not just known in heaven, you are recorded, and what's written over your life cannot be erased by people's opinions or the enemy's lies. The angels have kept watch, and now they are moving with new instruction, because the season of remembrance always leads to release. So walk with confidence. You are not a mystery in heaven. You are known, documented, protected, and what was recorded in secret is about to manifest in ways even you didn't expect. You have been seen. You have been counted. You have been chosen. You've waited. You've prayed. You've endured. And now, heaven is speaking with clarity. It's time. Time to move. Time to respond. Time to stop questioning what has already been confirmed in your spirit. This is not the moment for hesitation. This is the moment to act, because delay has a cost, and obedience has a window. There are moments in life where God leans in closer, moments where the atmosphere shifts, and the weight of what you carry becomes undeniable. This is one of those moments. The heavens have already moved. The angels are already positioned. The instruction has already been whispered. Now, it's your response that determines what happens next. You are standing at a divine intersection. One road leads to comfort, the other to calling. One road leads to safety, the other to surrender. You've been circling this decision long enough. You've asked for confirmation. You've asked for signs. But deep down, you already know. The answer has never changed. It's time to respond to the call. You've been chosen. But being chosen means nothing until you choose back. This is not about being ready in your flesh. This is about being aligned in your spirit. God doesn't wait for you to be qualified. He waits for your yes, because your yes carries the authority to unlock what's been sealed. The people assigned to your voice are waiting. The doors assigned to your destiny are waiting. The next level of your life is waiting, and they're all waiting on your obedience. Obedience is more than agreement. It's movement. Heaven doesn't respond to your emotions. It responds to your action. And for too long, fear has disguised itself as caution. Doubt has paralyzed destiny. But no more. This is the line in the sand. The moment where the hesitation dies and your yes becomes louder than your excuses. You've been asking for direction, but God has been asking for decision. The truth is, you already know what you're supposed to do. It's been stirring in you for months, maybe years. That conversation you've been avoiding, that step you've been delaying, that leap you've been afraid to take. God didn't show it to you so you could admire it. He revealed it so you could walk in it. And yes, it will cost you. True obedience always does. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you convenience. It might even cost you connections. But it will reward you with something far greater. Clarity, power, favor that cannot be explained. The kind of divine momentum that makes up for years of what felt like stagnation. Because once you respond, heaven responds back. Every time. And this isn't just about your breakthrough. It's about everyone tied to your obedience. There are people whose freedom depends on your yes. People who will never step into their assignment until you step into yours. That's why the enemy has tried so hard to distract you. That's why the warfare intensified when you started getting close. He's terrified of what happens when you finally obey. So let this moment be marked. Comment. 444. Yes, comment the number 444 right now. It's the number of divine alignment and open doors. This is not about numerology. This is about prophetic agreement. This is you declaring to heaven, I won't delay any longer. I'm aligning now. I'm moving now. I'm choosing the call over my comfort. Let 444 be the seal. Let it be your answer. Let it echo through the unseen realm that you are stepping into what God ordained long before you took your first breath. Because obedience isn't just about action, it's about access. Access to the next instruction. Access to the next level of favor. Access to divine protection that covers you when your feet step into unknown places. When you obey, you step into territory where miracles move faster and grace surrounds you like a shield. As we read in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 2 says, all these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. Obedience invites overflow. And you, chosen one, are not being summoned to obey just for blessing, but for kingdom impact. Because the earth is groaning for sons and daughters who will not just know their calling, but answer it. No more hiding behind doubt. No more waiting for perfect timing. No more excuses dressed up as caution. This is your moment. Obedience is the bridge between the life you have and the life you were born to live. So take the step, make the move, speak the word, start the thing, leave what you must, and trust that what waits on the other side of your yes will make sense of every season that tried to crush you. You've been chosen. You've been prepared. Now you must obey. You've heard the word prophetic used before attached to sermons, messages, movements, but few understand that a truly prophetic life is not built on stage lights or applause. It's carved in silence, molded in fire, and lived in obedience. Chosen one. Your life is a living prophecy. You don't just carry words of encouragement. You are a word sent into this generation. Every step you've taken guided, every detour ordained, every delay divinely timed. You were never just going through random trials. You were walking out a scroll that was written before time began. There are pages in heaven with your name on them, and those pages are unfolding with each decision you make. You are not drifting, you are fulfilling. You are not guessing, you are aligning. And though you may feel like you're still waiting for the full picture, the truth is, you are the picture. You are the sign someone has been praying to see. You are the word walking down the street. You are the evidence that God still speaks, still calls, still sends. When people encounter you, they're not just meeting a person, they're encountering a message from heaven. That's why your life has never followed a simple blueprint. That's why formulas didn't work for you. That's why certain paths felt wrong, even when others swore they were right. Because you were never meant to follow a pattern, you were created to become one. The kind of pattern that others will follow out of bondage. The kind of pattern that shifts entire atmospheres and generations. God never asked you to impress people. He asked you to become the fulfillment of what He spoke. This is why so many seasons of your life didn't make sense. The ones where you were overlooked, misunderstood, underestimated. The seasons where you poured out and nothing came back. The times when you stood for truth and it cost you everything. They weren't punishments, they were prophetic positioning. You were being placed in environments that would reveal what's inside you. You've been walking through prophetic fulfillment in real time. Even the painful parts, even the betrayals, even the loss. You've become what the world didn't know it needed. A voice that cannot be bought, a heart that cannot be corrupted, a spirit that cannot be tamed. And because of that, your life is beginning to speak louder than any platform could. You are a prophetic timeline being unfolded before the eyes of a watching world. Everything you've endured has been preparing you for this, not just to prophesy, but to become the prophecy. You are the bridge between what God promised and what others will now see. You are the before and after. The once broken, now restored. The once hidden, now called. Your presence alone confirms that heaven is still moving on earth. As it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 55, verse 11 says, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." Oh, you, chosen one, are that word, spoken, sent, planted, and now being fulfilled. This is why the warfare was so specific, so relentless, so calculated, because the enemy could sense the weight of the word you carry, and if he could shut you down, he could silence a piece of heaven's strategy in the earth. But he failed, because even in pain, you stayed surrendered. Even when confused, you kept moving. Even when isolated, You didn't disconnect. And now you are dangerous to darkness. Not because of how loud you are, but because of how rooted you've become. You don't speak from theory. You speak from testimony. You don't move from hype. You move from history. And the word written on your life is not finished, yet it's only gaining momentum. You don't need a pulpit to preach. You don't need a platform to impact. Your story carries a frequency. Your scars hold a sound. Your presence carries a prophetic push that wakes people up from spiritual sleep. You are not just telling the world who God is. You're showing them what He can do with someone fully surrendered. You are a living epistle, read by those who may never open a Bible. You are the answered prayer. Someone didn't even know they were praying. You are the sound of fulfillment walking among the broken. This world needs your story. But more than that, it needs your existence. So walk with your head high, not in arrogance, but in assurance. You are not wandering, you are fulfilling. You are not lost, you are aligned. Every day you wake up is another line being written in heaven's story. And you, chosen one, are the word He sent for this generation. You've felt it for years now, that strange, invisible pressure, the weight that follows you into rooms, the tension that greets you in environments that should feel safe. You've walked into places and felt spiritual resistance without a single word spoken, and for the longest time, you questioned yourself. What is wrong with me? Why do I always feel like I don't belong? But the truth is, chosen one, it was never about you fitting in. It was always about what you carry. You don't just bring presence into a room, you bring confrontation. Not with people, but with the spirits they've learned to live with. You are a walking line in the sand, a living confrontation between light and darkness. The enemy knew it the moment you were born. He saw the mark. He recognized the oil. And he did everything he could to isolate you, because isolation can make even the called doubt their voice. But here's what the enemy didn't expect: that the isolation wouldn't weaken you. It would awaken you. You've never truly been alone. Not even in the moments where you cried out and felt heaven go silent. Even in your stillness, angelic presence surrounded you. Assigned, commissioned, watching, guarding. Because the battle surrounding you has never been about your past, it's about your future. And if you ever fully understood who walks with you, you'd never question your position again. There are moments in the spirit realm when the veil gets thin, when the reality of heaven becomes almost tangible. That's what's been happening to you lately. The dreams, the visions, the sudden discernment, the tears you can't explain. That's not emotion. That's not exhaustion. That's evidence. You're not alone in this battle. You were never fighting by yourself. There are angelic hosts assigned to your journey, and they have not left their post. Even when your faith felt weak, even when your strength ran out, even when you lost your way, your name remained on their scroll. Your prayers were not ignored, they were stored. Every whispered, "Help me, God." Every broken, "I can't do this anymore," was not discarded. It was recorded. You're still standing because heaven stood with you. You are not just a believer, you are a soldier. And heaven doesn't abandon its soldiers. Especially not the ones marked for impact. Especially not the ones carrying generational weight. You've been called to walk through fire, not just for your breakthrough, but for those tied to your obedience. Those watching your life from a distance, waiting to see if God really shows up for people like you. And He will. He already has. Look back. Really look. Remember the traps you narrowly avoided. The people who walked away just in time. The battles that should have crushed you but didn't. The moments when, by all logic, you should have been lost, but you were rescued. You didn't escape those things by chance. You were covered. There were angels standing in places you didn't even know existed, blocking attacks you never saw coming, restraining spirits that had been unleashed against you. That's why, even when you felt weak, you didn't break. That's why, even when you were outnumbered, you were not overtaken. There were more for you than against you. As it is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11 says, "For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." Oh, yes, chosen one. That has been your story all along. The enemy couldn't reach you the way he wanted because heaven built a wall around your destiny. Even in your wandering, you were protected. Even in your disobedience, mercy covered the cracks, not to enable you, but to preserve the promise on your life. You've been in a war, but not one you fought alone. And now, something in you has shifted. You're not just surviving anymore. You're seeing with new eyes, hearing with a deeper sensitivity, moving with purpose. Not banits. That's not just maturity, that's alignment. The battles you're entering now aren't just for survival, they're for territory. You're not just defending yourself, you're reclaiming what was stolen from your bloodline. The reason the attacks haven't stopped is because the threat you represent hasn't faded. In fact, it's growing. Every time you choose obedience over convenience, truth over popularity, surrender over pride, you terrifie hell. Because you're not just fighting now, you're winning. And you're not winning alone. The presence that walked with Daniel in the lion's den, that stood with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire, that same presence walks with you. You're not just covered, you're backed. All of heaven stands behind your purpose, and all of hell knows it. So move like you're not alone. Pray like someone's listening. Walk like you're surrounded. Because you are. You always have been. This is not the season to sit quietly while the kingdom of darkness storms forward. This is not the time to whisper prayers that heaven has already given you authority to declare. You, chosen one, are no longer being tested. You are being equipped. You're not in survival mode anymore. You're in command mode. Everything you've been through, all the pressure, the crushing, the loneliness, the refining was never random. It was training. You were being made into someone hell would fear and heaven could trust. And now, God is placing spiritual weapons in your hands, not for display, but for deployment. You are being trusted with power, not because you're perfect, but because you're ready. Ready to bind what once bound you, ready to speak what once silenced you, ready to cast down what once stood over you. You're not just chosen, you're armed, and heaven expects you to walk in that authority like someone who knows the war has already been won. You are not called to plead with fear. You're called to cast it out. You're not called to hide from strongholds. You're called to shatter them. You're not called to cope with curses. You're called to cancel them. This is not charisma. This is kingdom. And the kingdom doesn't negotiate with darkness, it drives it out. It's time to stop treating your anointing like a suggestion. It's a summons. A monthly. A fire that can no longer be contained. You don't walk like others because you carry what others can't. You don't fit in because you were sent to break patterns, not repeat them. There is something in you that heaven is now demanding access to. You've prayed. Use me, Lord. No, you've cried. I surrender. No, you've whispered. Whatever it takes. No. And now God is saying, then rise. Rise into the calling you can no longer ignore. Rise into the rooms you once felt unqualified to enter. Rise into the authority that already has your name on it. You were never meant to crawl through life hoping to be spared. You were born to command, to govern, to establish divine order in the midst of chaos. You have spiritual keys now. Use them. Bind what needs to be bound. Loose what's been held hostage. Speak what heaven is saying, not what fear is whispering. You're not a victim of your environment. You're the one sent to change it. As it is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 4 says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds." That power has been placed in you. Not later. Not once you feel worthy. Now. And the authority you've received isn't for applause. It's for impact. It's to liberate others, still stuck in the cycles you fought to break. It's to shut the mouths of generational lies. It's to sever every spirit that ever tried to convince you that you were too broken, too late, too much. They were wrong about you, and hell knows it now. Your voice is sharper. Your spirit is louder. Your presence is heavier. Because this isn't egoit's elevation, the kind heaven authors and hell can't reverse. You're stepping into a dimension where prayers don't bounce back, they pierce. Where declarations don't echo, they shift realms. This is where the true chosen ones rise. Not from platforms, but from posture. Not from crowds, but from consecration. If your spirit bears witness, mash the like button. Share this with one other warrior. Comment boldly below. And subscribe to stay connected to this prophetic release. Every action in obedience multiplies impact. Every share lights up another territory. Every comment marks your alignment in the unseen realm. Every subscription is you planting your feet deeper in this stream of anointing. This is not for entertainment, it's for execution. The kingdom is advancing, and you are a weapon in motion. Comment, I rise in power. Let it be said aloud in the spirit realm. Let it be your answer to the lies that tried to quiet you. Let it be the sound that silences everything that ever doubted your rise. You are not crawling out of this season, you are ascending into it. This is what you were forged for. You're not stepping up, you're stepping in. You're not wondering if you're ready. You're walking like you are. And when your feet touch the places you once feared, the ground itself will recognize the shift. You don't just carry power. You are power clothed in obedience, dripping in fire, and crowned in glory. There's a glory that only comes after fire, and chosen one. You've walked through it. Not the symbolic kind, the scorching kind. The kind that stripped you of everything you once used to define yourself. The kind that burned away the image, the expectations, the safety nets, and left only what was eternal. It was never about destruction. It was about refinement. You didn't walk through the fire because you were weak. You walked through it because God trusted that what He placed in you was indestructible. When others around you gave up, when some lost their minds, when others changed their names to match their trauma, you endured, not because of your own strength, but because grace wrapped itself around you and carried you through. This is the season of aftermath glory. It's the part that makes everything make sense. The moment when you realize that the losses weren't the end, they were the birth canal. That the betrayals didn't bury you, they planted you. That the long nights of asking why were not wasted, they were watering the roots of something heaven was preparing to bloom. You didn't just survive the fire, you were transformed in it. And the version of you that's emerging now doesn't look like what went in. You don't speak the same. You don't pray the same. You don't weep from the same wounds. What used to shake you no longer moves you. What once intimidated you now bows to you. Because fire doesn't just refine, it reveals. God used the fire to show you who you really are. And maybe, for a time, you didn't recognize yourself. That's what transformation feels like. When the old you dies and the new you hasn't fully arrived. That in-between place where everything feels unfamiliar and yet undeniably sacred. But now, the fog is lifting, the ashes are clearing, and from that wreckage, a crown is forming. There's glory on your life now that can't be earned, only endured. It's a kind of beauty that heaven gives to those who never stopped believing, those who worshipped while bleeding, those who lifted their hands while everything they loved burned away. That kind of glory doesn't shout, it shifts. It changes atmospheres. It stirs angels to attention and makes demons retreat before a word is spoken. That's what's on you now. But don't expect everyone to see it. Glory doesn't come with bright lights and loud announcements. It rests quietly. It moves in silence. It flows in posture. Many will look at you and see the same person, but they'll feel something they can't explain. That's the weight of the glory you carry now. It doesn't need to advertise. It simply is. And here's what you must know in this new season. The fire was your gateway. It didn't come to destroy you. It came to deliver you from people, from patterns, from old identities and hidden idols. And now, because you allowed God to finish the process, you're coming out different, sharper, clearer, lighter, and, yes, stronger. But not the strength that strives, it's the strength that rests. You're not striving for recognition anymore. You're standing in revelation. The glory after the fire isn't loud, it's holy. It humbles you. You don't walk around announcing your comeback. You become the comeback. You don't prove people wrong with arguments. You prove them wrong with fruit. The kind that remains. The kind that speaks for itself. As it is written in the first letter of Peter, chapter 5. Verse 10 says, "And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore you and make you strong, firm and steadfast." And he's doing it now. He's restoring what looked lost. He's rebuilding what you thought would never breathe again. But this time, it's coming back differently. Not how it was, but how it was always meant to be. Refined, realigned, redeemed. What's returning to your life now is covered in glory. Relationships that are kingdom, not counterfeit. Opportunities that come without compromise. Influence that flows from intimacy, not ambition. This is not just restoration, it's resurrection. And there's no version of you that hell can use against you anymore. Your past has been purified. Your pain has been repurposed. Your name has been rewritten not by culture, not by trauma, but by heaven. You're not a cautionary tale. You're a burning testimony. And you'll carry this glory into places where others thought God had left the room, because you carry proof. Proof that the fire doesn't mean failure. Proof that suffering can birth power. Proof that God still refines, still heals, still brings beauty from ashes. You are not just walking out of the fire, you are walking into a future you were designed to ignite. So walk forward with nothing to prove, nothing to hide, and nothing to fear. You've been in the fire, you've been in the silence, and now you walk in the glory that follows obedience. They saw the shaking, but they didn't see the strengthening. They witnessed your breakdowns, but they didn't understand the breakthrough that was building behind the scenes. While others watched you lose, heaven was watching you learn. Every blow you endured, every prayer you whispered in the dark, every unanswered question and sleepless night, it was all forming something deeper, something unshakable. Chosen one, you have become the vessel, not just a person who receives, but one who releases. You have become the answer to what others are still weeping for. You carry the presence of God, not just in your words, but in your being. Your life is no longer just about you. It's a voice now, a channel, a divine frequency that carries the echo of heaven through every room you enter. What once silenced you now stirs you. You're no longer afraid to speak, not because you've become bold in the flesh, but because the Spirit has matured in you. You understand now that it's not about being right, it's about being available. Not about platform, but posture. You've surrendered enough to be trusted with sound, and that sound, that Spirit-led voice, has power to unlock prison doors. You are no longer just a listener of heaven. You are the one heaven now speaks through. This is what the silence was about. This is what the fire refined. This is what the crushing protected. God was raising a voice that wouldn't be manipulated, a soul that wouldn't be bought, a heart that wouldn't break when misunderstood. You are not just anointed, you are anchored. There's a clarity in you now that can't be shaken. You know who you are. You know who your Father is. You know what you carry. And because of that, you move differently. You're not chasing favor, you're walking in it. You're not searching for your place. You are the place where heaven meets earth. This is why the warfare was so targeted, because once a chosen one finds their voice, the kingdom of darkness begins to lose territory. You are not just someone who prays, you are someone whose words move things. You're not just someone who survives, you are someone whose very life liberates others. You've become the vessel that now speaks what heaven is saying. And what you speak isn't coming from borrowed revelation, it comes from experience, from suffering, from surrender, from intimacy with God that can't be faked. Your mouth has been purified, your heart has been processed, and now your voice has been commissioned. And that voice, chosen one, is dangerous. It's not loud in the natural, but it is thunder in the spirit. It doesn't flatter the crowd, it pierces the soul. It doesn't build a brand, it builds the kingdom. This voice can't be controlled by popularity, manipulated by platforms, or silenced by religious tradition, because it wasn't given by man, it was breathed by God. You have been entrusted. You were the one heaven waited on, the one who didn't quit, the one who didn't fold under pressure, the one who said yes without seeing the full path, the one who stayed hidden long enough for the oil to mature. And now, you've stepped into your moment, not for performance, but for prophetic purpose. This is not just your breakthrough, this is your becoming. The angels who once stood in silence now move when you pray. The realm that once seemed so distant now flows through you. Because God doesn't just want to speak to you anymore, He wants to speak through you. You are a yielded vessel, a sharpened instrument, a carrier of divine precision. And when you speak now, it won't be just emotion. It will be execution. As it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 59, verse 21 says, "As for me, this is my covenant with them, says the Lord. My spirit, who is on you, will not depart from you, and my words that I have put in your mouth will always be on your lips, from this time on and forever. This is the covenant, that what was once whispered in the quiet will now thunder through your voice, that the words entrusted to you will break yokes, shift minds, realign destiny, that your sound will no longer be confined to pain, it will carry power. You are not the same. You are a vessel that speaks, a voice that carries, a soul on fire with holy weight. And when you open your mouth, it won't just be heard, it will be felt. Let them feel the cost in your sound. Let them feel the war you fought in your whisper. Let them feel the glory you wear like armor. Because now, chosen one, you are the message. Chosen one, take a deep breath and look back, not with regret, but with reverence. You've come through the silence, the fire, the tearing, the refining, and now you stand, not just informed, but transformed. This message was never just content. It was a confirmation, adivine hecho, a mirror held up to your spirit to remind you of what God already whispered over your life. You are not ordinary. You are not random. You are not replaceable. You are marked. You are dangerous. You are sent. Every section, every word, every sentence in this prophetic journey was heaven's way of reminding you that your crown was never lost and hidden until the moment you were ready to carry it. The silence wasn't a punishment. It was a preparation. The waiting wasn't a delay. It was a divine strategy. And the breaking wasn't a curse. It was heaven's permission to rebuild you in glory. So as you rise from this moment, rise différente. Rise with fire in your bones and focus in your eyes, because you've been reawakened, realigned, recommissioned. You don't need another sign. You are the sign. If this word touched your spirit, like this message, share it with someone else carrying silent weight. Comment your confirmation below, and subscribe to stay connected to this prophetic flow. You're not just called to hear, you're called to echo. You're not just chosen to feel, you're chosen to move. You are part of a remnant rising, and this was your moment of ignition. Now go. Speak boldly. Move fearlessly. Walk with authority, because heaven spoke, and you answered,